Hello and welcome to Women of Worth Wednesday. I'm GanelLyn Condi, your host and guest today. I am wearing my favorite Women of Worth t-shirt today, and I sure need about 7 of these, so I have one every day. I hope that you'll comment where you're watching from and that you'll share this video with those that may need an uplift. We're so grateful here at High Five Live that we can bring uplifting stories and messages to you each day. And we love seeing where you share them and your comments and your questions, so thank you for that. Today I want to share an experience that happened a few years ago, and last night as I was traveling through this exact place, this canyon, again to speak, I was reminded of the power of that experience, and so I wanted to share it with you today. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go speak in the Cache Valley area, for those that are familiar with the Logan Cache Valley area of northern Utah. And there's a canyon that you often travel through to get in, which is called Sardine Canyon. And my cars are tithing cars, if you can relate. And I travel a lot up to Logan to speak, and so I've gone through Sardine Canyon many, many times. But on this particular occasion, we, and I say we because I had invited our nanny to come with us to travel, because I knew that I'd be coming home late from this girls' camp that I was speaking at, and I knew that my car was a tithing car and it didn't always work well. And so we said our prayer before we left, and as we were driving into the canyon, I was feeling like things were going okay. And as we came up through Sardine Canyon, there's an increase from Brigham City. You go up and then you come down into the Cache Valley area, and I could feel that the car wasn't doing great. And as we came down the canyon into the Logan area, we had to pull over. My car completely stopped, and all of a sudden this man pulled up behind us in a truck, and I don't know anything about cars, and he came up and I popped the hood, and he looked under there, and he said a few things that I didn't understand, and he offered to take us to where we needed to go, and I didn't want to miss our speaking opportunity. And so I traveled with this person, and I told Ashlyn, do not do this when you're alone. But he seemed to be someone I could trust, and we got to the speaking event, and everything went well with the Girls Camp message, and then they took me back to the car. And as we started the car started. And I thought, well, maybe my car just needed a rest. There was something he had said about a hose or whatever. So I thought, it's pitch black now, and we're still a couple hours away from home, before we head into the canyon, where the only cars really on the road at that time of night are the big rigs that are flying through the canyon. And so we stopped at 7-Eleven, and I got a screwdriver and duct tape, because my daddy always told me, you can fix anything with duct tape. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but we took it, got in the car, said another prayer, made it through the flat area heading out of Logan. And as we approached the first incline into Sardine Canyon, I was feeling like, okay, I was on the Lord's errand. I showed up, I spoke. The Lord's going to help us get home, and then we need to get this car in the shop. And as we started up this incline in Sardine Canyon, I could feel all the power in the car go. I was flooring the car, like the acceleration was to the floor, and there was no power. But what was shocking and amazing is that we continued to go up this mountain. And I didn't trust what was happening at first. I thought, is this really happening? I'm flooring it. I'm pushing this pedal all the way to the ground. I can feel there's no power. I can see on the acceleration indicator that it's not accelerating, and we're continuing to go up this incline. So I turned to Ashlyn, my traveling companion, and I said, are you praying? And she said, yeah. I said, do you see what's happening? I said, look at this. There is no power. The odometer is not moving at all. And we continue to climb. And she's like, oh my. And the more we increased in elevation, the more shocked and amazed I was, and the more I was expressing gratitude. I was literally out loud saying, God, thank you for helping us up this mountain. Thank you for helping our car to continue, and please help us make it. Every once in a while, a big rig would fly by and their lights were bright, and the canyon then would go completely dark. And we continued to inch our way up to the point where I started to doubt this amazing experience. And I think of Laman and Lemuel, who had angels appear to them, and they still weren't able to work on their conversion. Oftentimes we think if an angel would just appear to me and tell me, then I would believe in God, and then I would believe that all of my prayers are answered. But even as this was happening, I was doubting that it was happening. I could feel the car wasn't actually, the engine wasn't working, but I was going up. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, it was because I believed someone was pushing us. And I didn't see the angels, but I know that they were there. And I testify that as our car was pushed to the top of that canyon, that angels are real. As we reached the peak of the canyon, the highest point, you could see off into the distance the construction of the Brigham City Temple was underway, and it was lit up with all the scaffolding around it. But at that point, the car was not going to move. We hit that top of the peak, and it stopped. And so I let go of the brake, and we just coasted down, down, down off the off-ramp towards the Brigham City Temple to the nearest parking lot, and pulled the parking brake, locked the cars, called my husband, and at about 2 a.m. he was able to come rescue us from this, I think it was the Burger King parking lot. But I remember having a very clear testimony of the power of angels and how real the other side of the veil is. As I turned to Ashlyn, I said to her, please don't ever forget what happened here tonight. We are both here to testify that this is real. She's now married in the temple with her 2 little babies, and I saw her a few months ago, and we talked about the miracle of Sardine Canyon. The night angels literally pushed an old Volvo station wagon up a mountain. And I'm here to testify to you that oftentimes we wonder if the opposition that is coming towards us is bigger than our capacity or our God. I love in 2 Kings 6:16, where they're fighting a war, and there are armies and horses and chariots coming, and Elisha says, and he answered, fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And as Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes that he may see, and the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, because the young man that was with Elijah needed to see. My friend Ashlyn needed to also see. At the time of her life, she needed that testimony as well. And as this young man saw and beheld, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord and said, smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And so I want you to know that angels are real. As we approach Pioneer Day, I think of my dear friend T.C. Christensen has produced and directed an amazing movie called 17 Miracles. If you and your family have not watched it, I highly recommend it. He does a beautiful job on film depicting the miracles of angels pushing those hand carts, helping those pioneers. Was everything solved? No. They still went hungry. They still were tired. Their wagons broke. They lost children. They lost limbs. But angels are real, and they are there on this side of the veil and on the other to help us pioneer through the trials and challenges that are ahead of us. And I hope that in sharing this message with you, that your eyes will be open as this young man Elisha prayed for, that you will see with your spiritual eyes the angels that are around you. I recently spoke at a youth conference and afterwards had a message on social media from a youth that wanted to know, as I mentioned, my testimony of angels and that they were real if I had seen them. And I said, you see with your spiritual eyes, that's very different than our physical eyes. And I know some people have different spiritual gifts, but I hope this message, the miracle of Sardine Canyon, where the angels pushed my car up a mountain and there was no explanation why, as that car got towed the very next day, and as that story was shared with the mechanic, he was in shock. There was no reason why the car would have had power to do that incline. I testify that angels are real. I want to share with you in closing what Elder Holland has said about angels. He says this to the sisters. Sisters, I testify of angels, both the heavenly and the mortal kind. And in doing so, I am testifying that God never leaves us alone, never leaves us unaided in the challenges that we face. Nor will he, so long as time shall last, or the earth shall stand, or there shall be one man or woman or child upon the face thereof to be saved. On occasions, global or personal, we may feel we are distanced from God, shut out from heaven, lost, alone, in dark and dreary places. Often enough, that distress can be of our own making, but even then, the Father of us all is watching and assisting. And always there are those angels who come and go all around us, seen and unseen, known and unknown, mortal and immortal. I testify to you, my friends, that angels are real, that they are here as a big army to help us as we usher in the second coming, as we work to become Zion, as we face and pioneer through our own challenges, our own handcart experiences that are difficult and hard. And I hope today that you will share this message with someone that needs to be inspired. We share faith-promoting stories here on High Five Live, and we reread the same stories like Elisha in 2 Kings because we need to hear them over and over again. Remember, oh, remember. It was Laman and Lemuel who had powerful witnesses from angels that literally stood before them, but they forgot. They didn't work to wrestle through the next hard thing, and their conversion wasn't the priority in their hearts and minds. They had a testimony, they had angels appear, but their conversion was not intact. And Nephi, on the other hand, had hard, difficult things, brothers that were always trying to kill him, challenges with broken bows and building ships and settling in a new land. He continually trusted in God and worked to have his conversion strengthened. So he wasn't dependent upon how things were working in the moment. He kept eyes on Jesus. So I hope today that this message, the miracle of the Sardine Canyon car that was pushed up a mountain one night with two women that were alone in the dark by angels, unseen but felt, will inspire you today to feel the angels around you, that you will know you are never, ever alone. Thank you for joining me today on High Five Live on Women of Worth Wednesday, where every Wednesday we try to bring to you messages that specifically as women will enrich our lives and encourage us to not feel alone, as Elder Holland said. And we'll see you again next week on Women of Worth Wednesday.